Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So it is freezing in New York today, and my heat is doing this thing where it like kicks on and then it kicks off until it gets like freezing in there again, and then it kicks back on, and right now it is freezing in my studio. So I'm like, hold up. I definitely have some kind of shawl I can put on. One of those lovely things you can get on the street outside of Rockefeller Center, but they're so warm and cozy. Anyhow, today we are going to do Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison. I said this in my wrap-up for November, because I read this in November, and I pretty much said this with every single Rachel Harrison book that I've read prior, which right now is just two. I read Such Sharp Teeth and Cackle, which is probably her most well-known book. I think The Return is also very, very well-known, but I haven't read it yet, and I've heard so many people talk about Cackle. Rachel Harrison is one of those authors that I, like, don't even care what the premise of her story is. She's an instant buy author. And that's unique because unlike somebody like Christopher Triana or Ronald Malfi or Stephen King, Tim Meyer, I don't necessarily fall in love with Rachel Harrison's books. In fact, 9 out of 10 times, actually almost every single time I've read a book by Rachel Harrison, I despise her main character. I think her main character is selfish, unrealistic, completely unlikable. However, Rachel Harrison's writing is so enjoyable for me that I always have to read her stories. Always, always, always. Rachel Harrison has this really, really unique voice where she can write a story that has a ton of plot holes, awful characters, unrealistic scenarios, and I'm like, I don't care. And she's honestly, I think, the only author that has that. And I think a large part of it is I relate very much with Rachel Harrison's narrative voice. You can tell that she went to college in New York City. You can tell that she lived a lot in Manhattan. You can tell that she's about the same age as me. A lot of her characters are like late 20s, early 30s. All of her stories start off set in New York or around New York. And so I can just see my own experiences in some of the stories that she writes, and I really, really appreciate that. My favorite part of all Rachel Harrison stories are always the opening, because the opening always takes place in New York. This one takes place in like a restaurant. Our main character is a waitress. Obviously, I work in the service industry, so I can really relate there. But they always take place in New York. They're always something to do with like nightlife or going out in the city, or being stressed out at your job in the city. And there's this like humorous lightheartedness of poking fun of like the New Yorker dream in a lot of Rachel Harrison's stories, and I love that. Again, her millennial tone makes a lot of her jokes and a lot of her references really, really resonate with me. It's very, very colloquial, and it's going to date very, very badly, I feel. I feel like a lot of phrases she uses, a lot of scenarios she creates are very, very on the nose with certain people in certain time periods for them to really resonate with. Not to say that it's a bad book at all, because I love her writing. It's something that I feel really, really connected to, and there's no other author that does it the way that she does. I talk about T. Kingfisher a lot, having this kind of really fun narrative voice, and it's very colloquial. You feel like you're talking to Kingfisher when you're reading her books, even if she's telling a story. You can kind of see herself in the main characters. However, there's always this moment where you can tell that T. Kingfisher is at the heart of everything, telling a story that has herself in it, has her voice in it. Whereas with Rachel Harrison, you are hearing a story with Rachel's voice as the focus. And I really, really appreciate that. And it means that when I read books that have unlikable characters, ridiculous scenarios, really horrible decisions, and just plot holes, I don't care, because I'm not necessarily reading the book for the story. I'm reading it for the experience of hearing Rachel Harrison tell the story, if that makes sense. And I think, again, this is the only author that I really feel this way about. And Black Sheep is absolutely no different than Cackle or Such Sharp Teeth in the fact that I hated the character. There was a lot of like blatant plot holes that I found. A lot of characters make very, very stupid decisions. There's a lot of unanswered questions. And I didn't care because this was a 5-star read for me because I had so much fun reading this story. I'm going to read the inside flap. Nobody has a normal family, but Vesper Rice is truly something else. Vesper left home at 18 and never looked back, mostly because she was told that leaving the staunchly religious community she grew up in meant she couldn't return. But then an envelope arrives on her doorstep. Inside is an invitation to the wedding of Vesper's beloved cousin Rosie. It's to be hosted at the family farm. Have they made an exception to the rule? It wouldn't be the first time Vesper's been given special treatment. Is the invite a sweet gesture? An olive branch? A trap? It doesn't matter. Something inside her insists she go to the wedding. Even if it means returning to the toxic environment she escaped. Even if it means reuniting with her mother, Constance, a former horror film star and forever Ice Queen. When Vesper's homecoming exhumes a terrifying secret, she's forced to reckon with her family's beliefs and her own crisis of faith in this deliciously sinister novel that explores the way family ties can bind us as we struggle to find our place in the world. So I'm going to have one minor spoiler in this review because I think I have to talk about it to do this review any justice, and that is what this cult is. So if you don't want to know what the cult is, just maybe stop the video here, but I'm just going to tell you what the cult is. It shouldn't really ruin too much, but it is a little bit, like 50 pages in, it is a teeny tiny bit of a twist revealing what the cult is. And so I'm going to talk about it now. So for me, when I went into this book, I thought the cult was going to be like just a traditional cult where you have your figurehead leader, cult leader or whatnot, and all of these people kind of follow commune style, or like the way that Rachel Harrison was kind of talking about it, like crazy religious cult. So it was a really, really fun moment when they do the big reveal and talk about the fact that they're all Satanists. I thought that was very fun. I thought that was very interesting. I liked how there was an entire religion built up on Satanism. I really did enjoy, too, how Rachel Harrison attempted to basically make Satanism a reflection of Christianity. A lot of the same kind of concepts and rituals and traditions. And in doing so, attempted to make kind of a critique on the hypocrisy of like modern day Christianity, and how people tend to interpret Christianity. I'm not trying to insult Christianity, but just kind of like the hypocrisy that we see within certain like Christian extremists. And so I liked that, but I felt that it could have done more. It felt kind of like a caricature of Satanism in doing so, and I kind of wish she had fleshed it out and did a little bit more world building within that religion. I think that would have been a lot cooler. But I did like the concept of it. Like, I almost wish that she had kind of gone into like the more like biblical Old Testament derivative of Satan, and less the Satanic Temple, because they're awesome. But if you haven't seen all of like the insane work the Satanic Temple does, they actually don't believe in Satan. It's just kind of a name to like piss people off. Definitely check them out. But not that I'm endorsing religions here. I just think they're doing a lot of stuff that's really great for women's rights. But yeah, no. So in this, I just kind of wish that Rachel Harrison had really kind of fleshed out this religion a little bit more, because it really did just feel like a criticism of everything that she personally doesn't like in like hypocritical Christian tendencies, and just slapped Satanism on it, and then like just located the church underground and like sacrificed a couple goats. So I did feel that it could have been stronger, but I did love the idea that they were Satanists. I loved just this kind of like small town culty charm that all of the characters had too. Because it was really funny. It could have been like, oh, these people are in a cult, or these people are like small towners who don't like outsiders. Like it was a really fun like dichotomy and balance there. But I did think the cult was interesting. It did explain why one of their higher ranking church members was like a big horror movie star. I loved that. I loved Constance's house. I loved Constance's house. The more you read about it, the more just I wanted to go and see it. I thought the setting was fantastic. The farm, Constance's house, the church was so creepy, and I could just really imagine it. And I really did thoroughly enjoy everything unraveling around Vesper. I loved how in her mind she had to choose between being a waitress or being in a cult as her two options, and like at one point was like, I don't know which one's worse, you know? Like, I thought that was really, really funny. There's a lot of really funny moments in this. And it definitely was a little different than kind of the formula that you see with Rachel Harrison's other works, where obviously our main character is somewhere and gets displaced to somewhere new or back home. But I liked how in this story our character has the ability halfway through the story to kind of go back, and you get that separation from being trapped in the main setting of the story and get placed back somewhere else, and in this case where we started in the beginning. I thought that was a really, really unique spin for Rachel Harrison to do, to kind of give the book like room to breathe, and allow the reader to become better acquainted with our main character and not just kind of focus on all of the revelations that you're learning from the cult. I will say, again, I really didn't like our main character, and that's just true of all Rachel Harrison stories. She's extremely selfish, extremely self-centered. She really doesn't care about anybody but herself, which is why it was so funny to kind of have her as our hero and juxtapose it with these cult members who are actually kind of awesome up to a certain point. Like, her cousin Rosie is so sweet and it's just so like charming and bubbly, and it's like you almost wish that she was the main character because she is just so much more palatable. And then Rosie's parents too, so Vesper's aunt and uncle, I thought they were great. I love this kind of juxtaposition between Vesper having this really strained relationship with her mother, but then having this great relationship with her aunt and uncle, who even though they are in this crazy, like kind of depraved cult, are still like these like almost like doting like grandparent-like figures. Like, they just love Vesper. And I just thought it was so like funny and cute and charming to read about, with this just horribly sinister undertone that you know is going to bubble out somewhere. So this whole story, you have this crazy anticipation of what does everything mean and where is everything going, that really, really comes to this crazy boiling point at the end. However, I did feel that the ending was a little lackluster. I felt that certain storylines could have been concluded and wrapped up a little bit better. But overall, I thought this was a really, really, really fun read. It was 5 stars. I think Cackle was a 4-star read for me, and Such Sharp Teeth, it was either 4 or 3. Yeah, Such Sharp Teeth was a 4. That was her werewolf story. But yeah, again, this is a story where for me, like, there are so many flaws in this book, and I really want to highlight that there are a lot of flaws in this book, because I don't want to tell you guys this is a 5-star read for me and then have you guys read it and be like, well, what the hell? Like, what happened here? Like, how is this a 5-star read? This character sucks. There's so many plot holes. Like, what are you talking about? Because again, I don't read Rachel Harrison's books for her story. I read it for her voice, and I find her voice very funny and compelling, and I will just read anything she writes because I just want to hear what the next sentence is. So I really enjoyed this. It's definitely like the best that I've read from Rachel Harrison. If you enjoyed Cackle, definitely pick this up. I know a lot of people really, really liked Cackle. And I think this sits in the very, very same vein. I will say this Vesper is probably way more likable than the main character in Cackle, and I can't remember her name right now. And again, very like fun, kind of charming, whimsical, dark setting, which Rachel Harrison is really, really good at. And I thoroughly enjoyed the experience of reading this book, even if the overall tone and message of this book was a little strange. But that's just how I accept Rachel Harrison now. So when I read a book and I find that I'm reading it as fast as I possibly can, I know that she has me hooked, and that's 100% what happened here. And her settings are always great. Her settings are always so charming. I really, really love her settings. Anyways, that is all that I have for you guys today. As always, I try to post every Monday and Thursday, sometimes on Saturdays. And if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below, and I will catch you on the next one. Mwah.